Hello everyone. Now you will hear a brief retelling of the movie Wildflower. Enjoy the movie. A movie based on a true story. The movie starts with our main character Bee being rushed to the hospital after she fell into a coma. Doctors check the girl's health while she is visited by her family, in which chaos reigns. Bee, still in a coma, decides to go back to the beginning of her story to explain how she ended up in the hospital. Bee's parents Sharon and Derek suffer from mental retardation. Derek's development stopped at the age of 12 due to a drunk driving accident, and Sharon's brain has not fully developed, leading to the belief she cannot live independently. Despite these challenges, Sharon and Derek fell in love with each other at first sight and eventually married. Their parents were initially unsure of the children's union, but reluctantly approved. Derek's mom Loretta wants Sharon to be sterilized because they believe the new couple is incapable of raising a child. Sharon's mom Peg protests the idea, but her husband Earl, who is Sharon's father, doesn't want to take care of another child. They have been raising their intellectually disabled daughter as a child for 21 years. They have decided not to take any steps yet because they believe that the newlyweds are not interested in anything romantic. Shortly after their wedding, Bee was born, adding even more pressure on Sharon's parents to provide a home for the couple. Bee was named after the mother of Sharon's favorite cartoon character Bambi. In the beginning, Sharon's parents Peg and Earl helped take care of little Bee. Eventually, Earl got tired of being the sole breadwinner in the family and suggested that Derek move in with his family. Peg wants Sharon and Derek to stay with them since she doesn't trust him to take care of the baby or herself, but Derek decides that they should move in and live as a family. Which they do. Soon after, Derek and Sharon move to Nevada and first live in an RV and then buy a house. You and I are transported to the present. A social worker named Mary arrives at the hospital to investigate the circumstances that led to Big's coma. She speaks with members of Bea's family. Continuing the flashback, Bea's childhood was initially filled with joy and fun as Sharon and Derek worked hard to provide for her. However, when Bee turned 10, her parents began to put more responsibilities on her. Even Derek went so far as to teach her how to drive at a very young age, just in case he couldn't do it himself. In exchange for teaching her that skill, he promised Bee anything she wanted. Eventually led to her getting a dog, which she named Godzilla. According to Bee, they first enjoyed a happy life in the trailer park and then in their new home. However, from a very young age, Bee had to take on more than her fair share of responsibilities. This included taking care of the dog, taking care of herself, and even taking care of her mother. During one of her driving lessons, Bee mentioned in a conversation with her father that her classmates called them retarded. Understandably, Derek is sad that his daughter has to face this unfair way the world treats them, but he assures her that they are just special. One day Sharon accidentally leaves the door open and Godzilla, their dog, escapes. Bee is determined to get her favorite pet back, decides to use her father's truck to chase after him. As expected, the summer girl crashes the truck and the incident forces her to contact childcare services. This is the first time she meets Mary, a social worker. During a conversation with Mary, Bee expresses her inability to take care of Godzilla and her parents, and after this incident Bea's aunt and uncle, Joe and Ben, think that it would be good for the girl to spend some time with them. Bee ends up spending the summer at her Aunt Joe and Uncle Ben's house, which is a disorienting experience for her as she is not used to being cared for. When she almost gets into a swimming pool accident, her uncle realizes that Bee needs more parental guidance and support. Joy and Ben decide to take a larger role in raising Bee, focusing mainly on her education. As a result, Bee starts going to a private school where she becomes best friends with Nia. She does really well academically and even joins the track team for extracurricular activities. However, she continues to be a victim of bullying even in high school. Bee is mostly bullied by Astrid, the school's pretty girl. One day during lunch, Bee is approached by a cute guy named Ethan. He told her he saw her napping in biology class and handed her his notes. After Ethan left, Nia noticed that the guy probably liked Bee. She also shared what she knew about Ethan. He is a cancer survivor and the son of wealthy parents. Bee eventually starts dating the guy. After meeting him at a party, she continues to excel in school, but she constantly has to worry about her parents and whether they can take care of themselves. As Bee moves into her senior year, her psychologist Mr. Vasquez strongly recommends that she go to college. According to him, she has the necessary grades and extracurricular accomplishments to get into college. But at first, she only applies to a couple of local colleges under pressure. Although B has the potential to receive scholarships or financial aid, she is hesitant to even consider leaving her parents. She firmly believes that her parents depend on her for physical, emotional, and financial support and fears that they can't cope without her, and yet Mr. Vasquez asks what she is most interested in. B tells him she loves astronomy. Wasting no time, he tells her that she should look into the astronomy program at the University of California, Los Angeles, which best suits her interests. Later, after finding an old hat given to her by her uncle, B realizes that she wants to attend the University of California at Los Angeles and decides to apply for college. As B begins to spend more time with Ethan and agrees to go to the prom, it complicates her friendship with Nia, but meeting Ethan, who accepts her wholeheartedly, makes her realize that she doesn't need to listen to others who haven't been in her shoes. During one of her part-time school cleaning duties, Astrid, as always, is very reserved about B. But our heroine ends up slamming the door shut. When she puts Astrid in her place for her condescending class remarks. As prom approaches, B begins to spend most of her time away from school, working to feed her family and also buying a prom dress. She begins by setting aside a small amount of money from each paycheck to be able to fulfill her responsibilities and desires, including visiting Disneyland. After saving enough money, she buys the dress with Nia. But her friend seems very angry at B for spending less time with her now. The two girls end up fighting, causing Nia to leave B alone in the store. Meanwhile, Sharon, unaccompanied by anyone, goes to the grocery store because she really wants her favorite candy. Just at that moment, some kids convince her to buy them beer. Unfortunately, Sharon gets arrested, and they also arrest Derek when he gets into a scandal with the police. In Derek's case, he was arrested for trying to talk to the police about his wife's alleged crime. B, still trying on a dress, gets a call from the police station as a result of the incident. She has to bail her parents out of the money she has saved. Back home, she is furious with her parents because, according to her, real parents should not waste their child's savings. Things heat up when she finds out that her father lost his job last month and wouldn't let her mother get a disability certificate. Derek believes that Sharon is not disabled, but rather special. Bai is upset and eventually can't stand it. She reminds her father that her mother is mentally retarded and special is just a word people use to refer to her to lessen the guilt of her condition. Eventually, Derek loses patience and slaps B, who has largely built up resentment towards her parents. As a result, the next day at school, B confesses to Mr. Vasquez that she has decided not to go to a fancy college because she believes her parents can't survive without her. After this conversation, she takes Ethan home and decides to skip class. B shares her concerns with him, explaining that she feels a responsibility to take care of her parents. Ethan points out that her parents did just fine when she was little, and they probably would have been fine if she had gone to college. Guy thinks she uses them as a prop to avoid facing the real world. B disagrees and even mentions that she may have to take care of him if the boyfriend's illness returns. Understandably, Ethan takes offense to this and breaks up with her. Despite the emotional turmoil, B manages to reconcile with her best friend. Nia was upset that B decided to go to the prom after they had agreed not to. She went to Nia's house and made it up to her. B suggests they hang out together, but Nia now has a date to the prom. So B encourages her not to hold back just because the girl canceled the prom because Ethan broke up with her. B then helps Nia not get ready for prom, and afterwards she returns home to deal with the difficulties in her life. B decides to take control of everything in her power by selling tickets to the school lottery in hopes of winning a trip to Las Vegas, so she can visit Disneyland. Feeling extremely lonely, she ends up drinking a bottle of whiskey before going to sell tickets. Intoxicated, she goes outside to sell tickets, and Andy, the brother of her college classmate, offers her a ride. She accepts, but things take a dark turn when Andy attacks her. B feels uncomfortable and wants to get out of the car, but Dominion, Andy's friend who drives the van, doesn't object to Andy's actions. He only stops when B tries to jump out of the moving vehicle. B then tries to leave, but Andy follows her and begs her to get back in the car. He starts pulling on her arm and B breaks free before she slips and falls, hitting her head on the ground. Seeing that the girl is unconscious, the boys panic and drop her off outside the hospital before speeding away. B eventually regains consciousness and expresses her love for her parents and the rest of her family. After Mary's social worker does a checkup, B asks her if her family is the craziest she's ever seen, to which Mary replies that they are not. Later that night, Ethan visits B to apologize and they reconcile. B is eventually released from the hospital and slowly recovers during her last year of high school. She manages to graduate with Naya and the rest of her class. Although she was hesitant to go to college at first because of her responsibilities, B decides to have an honest talk with her father. Derek assures her that like any other parent, he wants her to move forward in life. This gives B the courage to apply to the college she wants and successfully get in. Even her grandparents, who were worried about their children's living conditions, decided to celebrate Bea's accomplishments. On graduation day, her entire family attends the celebration.